TJ, do you remember that time we were driving back from Grand Rapids, and you were like dangling out my window, yelling at the public construction guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me? What were you yelling at them for?
I might have just been yelling at like the traffic in general. Because there's like a traffic jam.
You had your own.
That,
it was kind of a smaller scale, like falling down moment where you were Michael Douglas and you were about to go ape shit on him.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I was yelling at them, but I wasn't like just being silly.
Well, to be fair, Chad was too. Chad was leaning out the window yelling at that lady so we were in like a traffic jam, but there was this lady in front of us that had her hazards on the entire time. And it's like, no, we know you're going slow. We are too. Like, everybody is going slow. And it just made Chad so unreasonably angry for some reason. So he leaned out the window and was like yelling at her, like, turn him off. Like, we fucking get it. I think we were in Grand Rapids for Mr. Dragon's class, TJ.
I had what was his name? That dude's got to be dead now, right?
Mr. Drago, I think was his name.
Yeah.
History teacher. Yeah. Yep. So.
Somebody
we went to like the
finally.
Ford Museum, right?
Yep, I did that too. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. He died when somebody finally liberated the treasure from his cave that his soul was linked to.
I thought you were going to say when they learned his real name.
They said it backwards.
They said it backwards, and he just crumbled to dust.
Ogard. That's actually kind of nice.
They found the painting of him in his office, and they showed him the painting of himself. It was the Dorian Gray shit.
That would be the opposite. Like, it would be a younger version of himself, and
I think maybe
he is the portrait.
Maybe he took over a new body. I think that might be it. He's just been teaching at KCC since it opened, but different bodies every time.
He was squatting on the land, and they built it around him.
Or like a student came back after class one day, and he was like behind the door and came out and like Hellraiser style, like
summoned me,
sucked their energy out of their face. Welcome back, people, to There'll Be Duds. This is episode 78. I was pulling up the list thing like as I was talking, so that I had just enough time. I am your co-host, TJ, aka J Spot Jack Cheese, and with me as always,
I'm Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch, and with us today is our very special guest,
Guesty man,
Casey.
I'm Casey.
Yes. I'm Casey Martin.
I'm Casey Martin. I am Casey Martin, in fact. I don't have a streaming handle or any cool name other than some gamer tags that don't make any sense, so I'm just using my name.
Cool. As always, we watched a movie this week. That movie being Ernest Saves Christmas from 1988 or 1980.
I think it's 88.
88.
I think it's 88, yeah.
Yeah.
Directed I had never seen an Ernest movie.
Damn. It's directed by John R. Cherry III, and it is the second Ernest movie following the character of Ernest P. Worrell, who's originally a guy from a commercial, which I didn't know that. And Santa Claus is basically retiring and trying to find a replacement, and there's kind of some mix-ups, some misadventures, and Ernest helps save Christmas. He helps Santa achieve his goal. Yeah. And yeah, I found that out as I was I don't know, just curious because it's been a long time since because I watched a bunch of these. I don't know if I watched every Ernest movie when I was a kid, but I know I watched them a lot, whether it was the same few or all of them.
Yeah.
But it'd been a while, and I had no idea he was just this is if the Geico Cavemen got a movie series basically, because he was just a commercial character, and the bit in the commercials was him, the Vern, I guess the viewer in the commercial was always Vern, and that's where that whole thing comes from and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think when we were done recording the last episode, Muppet Christmas Carol, I think I kind of talked to you about this, about like how my dad came down and showed us like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and it like fundamentally changed my sense of humor. Like I was at the right age to see that movie where like it changed my sense of humor. The Ernest movies are yes. The Ernest movies were sort of, I would say the three of the four tent poles are Monty Python, Red Green, and Ernest. Where like those are all properties that my dad showed me at a pretty young age that like just somehow it's like it's in my DNA now. So like these, I have a very soft spot for all of these Ernest movies.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the ones that we saw as a kid were like the made-for-TV ones after like the popularity sort of started waning after the fourth movie. It's like Ernest Goes to Africa, which is the blackface one. Pretty rough watch now.
Oh God!
But
I need to watch the rest of them now.
But I think my dad had some of the old Vern commercials like taped from TV. Like he, you know, I don't know what product it would be, but yeah, very similar. He'd burst into his house. Vern would try to keep him out, and then he would inadvertently destroy something. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder. I feel like in my head, I was thinking, I'm gonna say like I was surprised how much I like enjoyed this, like not just from that nostalgic viewpoint. Although that was definitely part of it. Because I thought like I was gonna be like, oh man, I'm watching Ernest as an adult. This is going to be like grating, annoying. I'm going to like fucking hate this. But I think when I'm thinking, because I kind of, after I watched this, I kind of skipped around. I don't know. I just like, I didn't even watch like full scenes, but I like went to like the different movies in the series and just like kind of skipped around and just to see like what they were like. And I feel like in my head, I'm just thinking of, because they do in the later movies with Ernest, what they do with a lot of like characters in like sitcoms where like as the shows go on, like Community is kind of like guilty of this. Like the first, like season 1 Britta, and I mean all of them, but Britta's like a good example of it, is like, you know, she's like the love interest. She has like some silly moments, but she's mostly kind of like an intelligent, like mysterious kind of like character, but she's pretty like held together, and she becomes like the like butt of every joke by the end of that show, and she's like such a cartoon character by the end of it. And
I think it's like the Flanders effect. I think that's
is
the
that
first
what
time
that is?
I think like early Simpsons episodes, Flanders is, you know, just kind of, he's like their super religious neighbor, but he's like a person. And then by the end of The Simpsons, he's just like it's like whenever there's like a very cartoonish caricature of like what they used to be, it's like the Flanderization.
Oh, okay. I'd heard that term
I think
before.
Going a little bit.
I just didn't know exactly.
I
was just saying I'd heard Flanderization before, but I didn't know that. I didn't actually know like what it meant.
Yeah.
And it was referring to the Simpsons character, but that was it.
I think that happens in MASH too with Frank Burns. Like,
yeah,
starts out as like actual foil competent doctor, but a dick, and then turns into like couldn't even make it as a veterinarian by the end of his appearances there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, I guess I was thinking that like Ernest was just gonna be like silly, like bumbling idiot who just like fucks everything up, like a Mr. Like Mr. Magoo or some shit, where he's just like, or Mr. Bean, I guess, where he's just like an idiot.
You said Mr. and I was like, Bean?
Yeah, kind of same deal. Yeah, just like messes everything up, and but he's actually like in this movie, he's very like he's like smart, he's clever, he really, except for the scene with Vern where he like, you know, destroys he like rips the like phone cord out of his wall or whatever. Other than that, he's not like that. It's like even the tagline or something like this. It's like, oh, Ernest fucks up Christmas. It's all his fault that these things happen. But you watch the movie, and it's like, no, he kind of does like everything right. It's not like he stumbles his way and accidentally saves Christmas. He does everything deliberately, and it works out for him and stuff. And so I was glad that it wasn't annoying, irritating Ernest, which is kind of what it. Like, just seeing clips from, like, Ernest in the Army, which was the last one, and it's just like a
that's-
scene of him like pressing his face up to glass and be like, ooh, 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 like loud, silly noises.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was honestly, coming from somebody who's never seen any of the Ernest movies, I was surprised at just how much of it he wasn't in. A lot of scenes just didn't have him in it. It focused on other characters too, so I was like, oh, okay, so he's not like...
Yeah.
It's not just him making a huge mistake and then having to go through this character arc of fixing it. Like,
Yeah.
he actually is helping the whole time for the most part, but, you know, I expected something different, I guess, especially... I shouldn't do this, but I looked up some... I didn't look up the reviews, but I looked up the ratings for it after, or like before I watched it, and it was not great. So I was like,
I think
okay.
you're going to find that with a lot of the Ernest movies. I think the first theatrical one is considered, like, pretty good, which
Decent.
I think is, Ernest Goes to Camp.
Yes.
And then I think this is, the second one?
yeah.
And, yeah, basically they hit diminishing returns, like, super fast, critically, if you're looking at critical consensus. But I think a lot of these movies are, like, cult classics for a lot of people our age, purely because a lot of us saw them, you know. I think for me it was just like, you know, going to grandma's house when we were younger in the summer, and she's just got a library of movies, VHS tapes, and like some of the Ernest movies are just ones, you know, I can like see my grandma's handwriting on like a VHS tape. This is like Ernest Rides Again, you know. It's like she had a lot of those movies, so I think that's partially why I enjoyed like I was laughing like throughout this whole movie. Like you know what? I'm just gonna say up front, I don't think this movie belongs in the Dud Cup.
I was gonna get to that when we got to our ratings.
I thought it might be a dud because I kind of thought that I was gonna go into it being like, all right, I'm 31. I'm not like the 13-year-old kid that saw this for the first time and thought it was amazing. And then I watched it last night, and I have kind of come around on it, and it's like, this is our dud episode. I don't think this movie's a dud. I think it's like pretty consistently funny throughout. I thought the characters were great too. I really liked the guy who played Santa.
I did too.
I liked
Sultan from Aladdin.
and he's from Amadeus. I can't pick which.
I love that movie.
That's his first film role, 1984. Count Arco in Amadeus. Dude was born in 1913, and his first film role was 1984 Amadeus.
Damn.
I know. I told Danielle that while we were watching it, and I was like, "This guy was born before World War I happened." Like, damn. Like,
nuts.
but yeah, he was the voice of the Sultan in the first Aladdin, and then
He actually was. I thought you were.
Yeah.
I thought you were just saying he looked like the Sultan from Aladdin.
He
So
kind of does.
I've got a good ear for like voices, so like whenever I hear that, I compulsively open IMDb and like look through their their stuff.
I can totally hear it now that you say that, but that just didn't.
And Ernest himself, obviously Slinky Dog, like that's all I heard like the whole time.
Yeah.
Toy Story.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, the sort of like the business guy, he was
like
in Die Hard.
Sleazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was, I think he was the
okay.
guy on the plane that talks to Bruce. Yep, that talks
about the
to
shoes.
John McClane. Yeah. So that's
Make fists with your toes guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small role, but yeah, that was him.
Huh.
But I thought, you know, even the dude who was in 2 episodes of MASH was good. Joe Carruthers.
Yeah.
The children's television host
Oh,
guy.
the replacement. The
Yes.
new Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recognized him immediately because MASH was huge in my house. So like I was like, oh, it's that guy that was pretending to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
he like read up a bunch of stuff about surgery, got like ridiculously good at it, and whenever he got found out, he'd like change professions in the army and just go do something else that he wasn't qualified for. Like,
Yeah.
It's a hell of a grift.
yeah.
But yeah, just watching it, I was surprised at how much heart it seemed to have, and like the characters were all pretty good, and like the Ernest hijinks like made me laugh consistently, like I was a little kid again.
Yeah, it was a good Christmas story. Like, especially for considering it was the '80s. I feel like, I feel like a lot of classic Christmas movies were kind of around like between 1985 and pre 2000. Especially if like The Santa Claus came out in what, 91, I want to say. And
no,
I feel like
no,
it
that
took
was like
some...
95. That
Was it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was after I was born then.
yeah.
After we were born, I guess.
Yeah.
Not me. Well, again, no, yeah.
I still watch that one.
Wait, what? You're older than us, Nick. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was confused for a second there.
Nick, I'm turning like 33 this year. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I like that. Yeah, like Ernest is just. I really like that he's like a Christmas guy. Like he's just full into like, yeah, like full of like the holiday spirit and stuff. And like early on, it might have been when he goes to Vern's house, maybe, and he goes, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree! Oh, Christmas tree!
Oh, that's in the beginning when he's in the taxi cab with the
Yeah.
guy
Oh,
who's
that's
like,
right. Okay,
yeah, and the guy's like, he's like
the guy who
doing
gets
the stunt driving
flung
and,
out of his car, out of the taxi on the freeway,
and then he pulls over and he's like, no, you can't be here.
picks him up.
But yeah, because I sing that sometimes, like in that way, and I'm like, is it because of this movie? Like, is that like in the back of my head? Because when he did that, I was like, oh shit, that's funny, and then I was like, oh, yeah,
Is
this is where I got it from.
why I do this?
Yeah. And yeah, all his little like his little Ernest-isms, like when I'm doing this voice now and blah blah blah, or like he's like that, like all that stuff it's good. He's a good comedian.
It's very charming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what this means?
It really works.
It means the end of Christmas on this planet as we know it. No, there's only one person authorized to operate this sack. His big red one is the Claus.
That was like my first note though on that highway scene in the taxi cab. I was like, Ernest has a body count. Like,
Yeah, he does.
He tries to do well, and then just like, in this movie he does end up saving Christmas, but it's like just that taxi cab scene alone. I was like, this guy is probably inadvertently like maimed or killed like so many people trying to do the right thing.
I personally think Ernest is way smarter than he seems, and way more competent than he seems.
Especially when he's like putting on characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I think that his ability to like find props like that snake truck that he had later on. I'm like, where did you find that? Like,
that's what I mean,
like,
or how he like orchestrates that whole, and of course this is in the context of like a funny Christmas kids movie, so it's not gonna have like the most solid like logic through line, but like he orchestrates the characters to like break Santa out of jail, and that's what I mean.
Yes.
Is like I always thought that he was just like, I always remembered him as just being like a dumb idiot who like accidentally like fixes problems, but mostly causes
it was very
them
intentional.
too. But yeah,
very intentional.
Other than that opening with him in the taxi cab and being like not a great driver, other than that he's very like competent, and
Yeah, because like especially during like I love the jailhouse scene when he's breaking him out. Just like he knows like the weaknesses of like the police force people, like the sort of like worrying about like bureaucratic oversight and like the government trying to tell them what to do. So he comes in as one of those characters, and he's very like it's a super teethy performance too. He's like and
he like. Yeah, I love it.
And like the girl that he's with knows is like, oh, I'm here for a book report. Like, I was laughing. She's like, is this how the government really works? It's like, were you an elected official or did you buy your way?
Yeah,
in?
that's
I was
what
like,
I
oh
was
shit!
yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Now look, I
I can't tell you what a pet project this is of Governor Ellington's. TV cameraman, are we communicating here?
Were you elected into office, or did you just buy your way in?
Isn't she a doll?
One last thing before, like, about the taxi cab. Did you guys notice what number taxi cab Ernest drove?
First thing I noticed,
69.
it was 69.
Oh my god.
I was like, no, actually, because like I turned it on. I was like super underwhelmed with the opening credits. Because I think in most Ernest movies, there's usually he's like involved in some way. Like Ernest Scared Stupid, the title credits are happening and he's like green screened in. He'll be like and then runs away.
Oh,
but this was just
okay.
like, you know, Norman Rockwell Christmas stock photo kind of stuff with like Christmas music playing. I was like, oh, I was expecting Ernest to kind of like run in front of the screen and, you know, mug for the camera while wearing a Christmas hat or something like that. And I was like, oh no, is this not going to be as good as I thought it was going to be?
They were pretty.
And then he's Taxi Cab 69, and I was like, okay, no, we're back in. I'm back in.
Crashes through like the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah, for real.
I remember having some questions about the plot at the very, like, obviously it's not like it doesn't make a ton of sense anyway, but like, what was Santa's retirement plan? Like, did he just give it up and he's just now stuck wherever he is with what he's got in his pockets?
Well, he's gonna go fuck that secretary or whatever.
Well, right. That might be his retirement plan. He just leeches off her for a while. Like,
So, are you doing anything tonight?
Not a thing.
You think of something.
He's an old dude and moved to Florida. What's not to get?
well,
Yeah.
Danielle and I were talking about that. I was like, does he now, like, does his age catch up with him now? If he's from the 1800s, does he just, like, wither away, like,
Yeah.
and become, like, sand, like, and just blow away? Or does he just retain his immortality?
Because he does say he's like 151 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I was literally just gonna reference the third Indiana Jones movie, but I guess I won't now.
I know some. I mean, it's been out for so long. I do know some things about it.
Is that?
I've seen, like,
were you gonna
chunks of
reference?
them.
Were you gonna reference this like the face melting scene?
No, that's the first one.
Okay.
But the third one kind of ends with like a similar sort of comeuppance for the bad guy, where they're searching for the Holy Grail. And
Okay.
it's like if you pick the wrong one, if you pick the right one, it's everlasting life. If you pick the wrong one, it's death. So like the guy picks the wrong one, and he like instantly decays into dust. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
I do have to see those, huh?
The other
hands down the first one. Yes, I think the trilogy is solid, but like I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is like a perfect movie, pretty much.
Is that the one that starts with like the switching of the things and the boulder chasing it?
It's the one that most like things that you know about Indiana Jones. It's from
the
Raiders of the
iconic
Lost Ark.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, is it on Laserdisc? Because I only watch movies on Laserdisc.
It probably is actually.
I think I've seen it
came out.
before.
Oh, wow.
At Satellite Records in Kalamazoo. I'm pretty sure they had a section of laser discs, and I think it was like one of the old Star Wars, and then I think an Indiana Jones ones.
Yeah,
I thought you were
like,
gonna say you saw it at like secondhand corners at some point. I'm like, I bet it was porn. Like,
It's like I don't have a player for any of those, but I think it would be cool just to have it for like the nostalgia factor.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Laserdisc is such a cool concept. It was just
Yeah.
ahead of its time, I think.
yeah.
We just weren't ready for that one yet.
No.
The other thing I really loved about Ernest was I think they're called malapropisms.
Malaprop. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, something like that.
Where it would just be like, you know, I'm trying to think of ones that he actually said, but mispronouncing words like it'd be the equivalent of saying like I'm not the sharpest crayon in the box. Like
Yeah.
kind
Oh,
of combining
it's like
two different.
Shakespeare would do that a lot too. With like in his comedies, he had like the dumb characters did that a lot.
Yeah, I should have written some of them down because he had some really good ones.
I know. I laughed at those. I'm somebody who likes like malaphors and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, Rome wasn't built over spilt milk. That type of thing. Like,
Yeah, no, exactly. That is like 100% like an Ernest-ism, something he would say.
Yeah.
Like he would say it very. I think that's kind of part of him appearing stupid but actually being very smart. It's because he knows all of these phrases but just can't get them right. I was actually like,
I should have wrote
what's
that.
up?
There's what we have here is a failure to accumulate.
Accumulate. That was one of them. Yeah.
That's from Cool Hand Luke, but different.
I actually got Pee-wee vibes from this movie.
Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah,
like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like we went to his house and it was like packed full of stuff. And he didn't have like the big Rube Goldberg machine to make him breakfast, but like, you know, he was like flipping the pancakes and like they were flying up and hitting the ceiling and shit. And then the woman that he was with kind of reminded me of like Dottie from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the point where I was like, those aren't the same actresses, are they? They're not.
I did love the representation of TSA too. Like, fake name, no problem. Like, just go. It's fine.
Like 9/11 hasn't happened yet. So.
Yeah. I was like, man, we need to go back.
Everything's cool, man.
Who are you? I don't care. Leave. Like, you just got here. I don't want to deal with you.
I did. Yeah, there were some pretty good running gags of like, yeah, the TSA agent who's just like increasingly frustrated with his job getting people with like passports that just say like elf from the North Pole or, you know, whatever.
And he's like, great.
And then, yeah, he's like, yep, whatever. I don't care now. And then the two other guys, the shipping guys, those are like Ernest mainstays. Those guys are in like, I think all the other movies.
I kind of figured, like, based on the way they were shot and kind of like there weren't really any introductions there, so I kind of figured that those two had been in other Ernest stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really think of another movie or series that does that right now, but same
it's
vibes.
almost like it would be like if it was just a sitcom, those two guys would show up and the audience would be like, woo, because like they're like, yeah, no, these guys, I remember these guys from the other episodes.
Yeah.
It'd be like that.
Yeah.
Let me see, what was it's a comment of Danielle's. I remember the girl like the made up name the girl uses, Harmony Star.
Yeah.
Danielle was like, is she a porn actress or something? I was like,
that's
no.
100% like a porn star name. Yeah.
Damn.
I think I thought she was the girl from. So I looked it up. Dottie is E.G. Daily, who is like the voice of Tommy Pickles in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
But like the voice, I think the voice that she does when she's the student doing the report on like how government works, she's doing like an E.G. Daily style voice. And I think that's like, I was like, is that? No, it's not.
Like a proto Tommy Pickles almost.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I did think it was like how she like changed her voice in that scene was like it sounded different. I don't know. It was interesting.
I also appreciated the Midwestern pronunciation of roof in the movie, like the roof.
Is that?
I think it's funny. Yeah, very much so. Especially Michigan. Like I'll do that like I'm a lot less prone to it now that I've lived out of state for a while, but like my parents do it, my grandparents do it, and I do it to like bug Danielle sometimes.
I did not even know that. I mean, like it makes sense, of course. Like of course the word should be roof because that's how it's spelled. Yeah. But damn, I thought everybody said
hoof or like tree root or root beer, like that kind of thing is very much a Midwestern
Oh shit,
thing.
I do say that.
Root beer,
that's funny.
No, I do. I will because yeah.
Oh, I do too. Now, like especially now that I know it bugs Danielle, I do it all the time. But like,
yeah, because like I was talking to Chloe about that yesterday. I think I was like, I would, because you know we are very used to our own accents and like manners of speaking. I would love to have like someone else listen to like the way that we speak and be like, what is the matter with you guys?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like we were talking about a friend of the show, Kelly, how she pronounces water like what? Water.
Yeah.
Oh, is she from like the East Coast?
She is, yeah.
Brooklyn, yeah. That's a Pennsylvania thing too, like a Philly thing.
Yeah. Philly accents are probably some of my favorite accents to hear because it's just like, yo, dude, like just.
I went to tech school in the Air Force with a bunch of people from Boston, like from like their National Guard. They were training at the same time. When they were talking to each other, it's like it was a competition of who could speak louder. And there was this one that had the thickest Boston accent, and he like whenever he called me Martin. And I knew it was him every single time. He sounded like he was yelling over traffic. I could hear him like a mile away. I feel like, Tim, hey.
Yeah. maybe that's where I learned all this shit, because like my dad showed me Red Green and Ernest, and like Red Green is like, they're Canadian, but that's I feel like there's a
close.
little bit of crossover between like Midwestern accent and like kind of Canadian style of speaking.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yeah, my dad says, Battle Crick. He's a
Oh
big
my
proponent
God,
of
my
saying
grandparents
crick.
do that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't do crick,
Danielle was like, "What does that mean? Like, what's a crick?" And I was like, "Oh, creek." You're like,
Really? I feel like my dad, there is a difference between creek and crick to my dad. Like, to my dad, a crick is a small creek.
"Oh,
Yeah.
see, yeah, that's like that's a very much like regional delineation." I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
Yep.
And we were watching the Santa Claus show, I think, with Remy, like the Tim Allen one that just came out,
Yeah.
and he says roof all the time. Like everything Tim Allen is in, he has like the
Yeah.
Midwesterns. And now that I'm looking for it, I hear it every time, and I'm just like staring at Danielle after he says it.
I'm
but-
a big user of groceries instead of saying groceries.
I say groceries, like sh,
Yeah.
like
Groceries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or just
I-
don't.
so-
It's like two syllables almost for me. I just say groceries.
Or caramel instead of caramel.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
I say
that's a
caramel.
regional thing. I think that's kind of like a you say
Is that a UK?
either thing. It's like you.
okay.
well,
It's a person. I don't know.
Yeah.
calling it pop too, pop soda, or
Yeah.
the hideous way that Southerners say everything is Coke. Like,
Yeah.
I did go to school with somebody like that. He was from South Carolina, in Texas. He called everything Coke. What kind of Coke you want? And I was like, there's only one kind. I was like, wait, vanilla, cherry, diet. Like, he's like, I got Sprite, and I'm like,
That's
you
not.
just, what? Like, no.
I got orange Coke,
Or
clear
if, what
Coke.
if you want Pepsi too? Like you want a Pepsi Coke?
Oh,
He's like,
Pepsi
we
is
don't
also Coke.
talk
It's
about
all-
Pepsi. Oh,
Anything
okay.
bubbly. Anything bubbly is
Anything
Coke.
carbonated.
Yeah, yeah, and I
He's
don't
like,
know,
you want a
don't-
Coke? You're like, yeah, and he brings you like a LaCroix.
Yeah, and I never thought I had that much of a Midwestern accent before I joined the military, and then you're kind of stuck with all these people from like all the
A
different
real
states.
melting pot of accents and
Yeah.
dialects.
So like people say things different. Like I got like people would point out that, oh, you say this, and I say, like, it was just kind of a cool exchange.
Yeah.
And then
You're
you go
like-
to
you're like,
Baltimore.
no, I
and
don't.
People,
No, I don't. I don't do that.
yeah. It makes you almost not self-conscious because it's like an interesting difference, but unless it's the Coke
Yeah.
thing, that's just a weird one. But I remember I worked with a guy, the one that pranked me all the time at where I worked in the Air Force, and he had like a Baltimore accent. He refused to acknowledge it. He was like,
Baltimore
I was like,
accent's
you just-
insane.
I was like, you just said on, and he's like, no, I didn't say on, I said on. I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it probably sounds like it sounds offensive when someone who doesn't have that accent says it to you, even though like you're saying the exact same thing that they said.
Yeah, I
Coming
don't
from
care.
you, it sounds like you're doing like just a gratuitous
Like a caricature almost.
yeah, and it's like, no, I don't talk like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on the other end of that though, because like I guess my first experience like that, where I was like, oh, I guess maybe I do have an accent, is when I worked on that movie in Frankfurt with all the people from New York, and
Oh, I bet that was cool.
I would get shit for. I mean, it was we were all friends. It wasn't like they were like trying to put me down or anything. It was friendly.
Some friendly ribbing.
I would get from like some like the actors or like the other crew. They'd be like, "Hey, I'm TJ. I'm from Michigan,"
Oh man.
and then there'd be like times where they'd comment like on how I'd say things, and they would say stuff to me, and I would think in my head, I'm like, they're messing with me because they're saying it exactly like how I'm saying it. Because they'd be like, no, you said this word like this when it's supposed to be like this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm saying it the
just said the
same way
same
you
thing.
say it. Yeah, but so I'm like, that's whenever I like what you were saying with your friend from Baltimore. I'm like, maybe he's hearing the same thing. I don't know. It's yeah.
Yeah.
I went to So it's really interesting too. I feel like between the states, like we all make fun of each other for it, but like if you go somewhere that's primarily English speaking and it's like a different accent, I feel like it's more like people take more of an actual interest in it instead of like trying to make fun of you.
Oh yeah.
Like so we went to like Scotland, and they have a great time trying to guess where you're from.
Oh.
Like they'll talk to you for like an hour just trying to get to know you. It was really cool. Friendly place if you ever get to go. But big difference.
Yeah. What would you say Ernest's dialect is? Is it Midwestern? Because I think he's from like Tennessee. I think Jim Varney is at least.
He's definitely got that Southern accent. I feel like he's just north enough to have a bit of the Midwestern, but I feel like he's got that kind of drawl to it.
Tennessee, Kentucky, where like not everybody it's like north enough to where not everybody has like the deep South accent, but there's like more of an influence.
There's flavors of it. Yeah.
I visited Tennessee a while back, it's been a few years now, but like it's weird that you can talk to one person and they can have like the same accent as me, and then I can turn around and this guy comes in a cowboy hat and he's got like the big Ernest accent, and I'm like, okay, like,
holy shit,
where am I?
Yeah. I was looking at pictures of Jim Varney, and I know he kind of plays a doofus in these movies, but dude's kind of cut.
Oh yeah.
Like I saw, this is partially based on me seeing your Letterboxd review of this, TJ, where you called him a himbo, and I think that description is entirely accurate, because like you look at some of his headshots from like, you know, his younger days in probably like the 70s.
Good looking dude.
Dudes, he's like there's one where like his hair's kind of like wet and he's just like doing one of those. You're like, that's Ernest.
Yeah.
And it's tragic that he died so young, because I feel like he could have easily had like a really interesting like late, you know. I love it when comedic actors have like their dramatic careers like later in life.
Yeah, like his Darren Aronofsky revival, like The Wrestler, something like that.
Oh my! I'm just picturing a later The Wrestler, but it's Jim Varney returning to the character of Ernest, and he's just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm washed up. I can't do it. And then it's like his trainer's just like, who am I? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, who am I? And he's like, Vern? Is that you, Vern?
Side note, I did like the homage to Star Wars when they were in the sleigh. When they went really, really fast, like the
they went
stars
warp
kind of
speed.
like the hyperspace. I was like, nice. I think there was one more Star Wars reference, but it was definitely like a direct reference, not like a.
Oh
like
no! Yeah, no. He's
but...
trying to get the reindeer to go, and he's like, "May the Force be with you." And like that.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Also, he was in space. I mean, it's a nitpick, but like he's beyond the Earth's orbit. He should be dead.
I think that's our like modern sensibilities to right. It's the magic of the you can say that of the sleigh, but like movies pre like 2000 just didn't care if we were in space. This is like it's just space.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a reference to like Superman the movie. With like the like spinning around the globe really fast.
It could be.
Visually, it kind of reminded me of that, like when he turns back time or whatever.
Speaking of that, the space thing though, is that I saw that there was it was like a deal to make like 8 more Ernest movies after a certain point, but basically like I think they had one more like contracted to do, but then he passed away. And it was Ernest Goes to Space, and I was like, of course it is.
The Final Frontier. It would have been the Final Frontier.
There definitely would have been some Star Wars jokes.
Yeah. This franchise hit like every sequel like thing. It's like you do a Christmas one, you do a Halloween one, you do the Army one, you do the space one.
You go to jail.
Yeah.
See, I think I don't think this one belongs in the Dud Cup. I think maybe some of the other ones might.
I'll have
Maybe.
to watch them and
yeah.
get back to you.
I wouldn't be surprised if like those last few, like what I saw, I was like,
The
'cause
direct-to-video ones are probably like...
Because after watching this, I'm like, I kind of want to watch the rest of the Ernest movies now because this was a lot of fun. And then, yeah, I skipped around and I was like, yeah, maybe just the first few. Maybe I'll just watch like the first half or something. Cause,
You just went through this with Hellraiser, and now Ernest goes to hell.
yeah.
You said this.
Yeah,
You said this one
Cenobites?
was the second one.
second one.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's also the highest grossing one, right? I think I looked that up or I saw that.
I wouldn't be
somewhere.
surprised. The Christmas angle probably helped out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I did have a little fan theory. I've had some for like the last few movies we have, and I had a fan theory that I think my headcanon is that Santa Claus in this, the one that's retiring, was Johnny Appleseed. Because
Doesn't he say... What does he say his name is at
he
the
said
end?
that was what gave me the idea. He said his name is Seth Applegate. And he says that he's like 150-ish years old, and I'm like, okay, that's like, I think that's around when Johnny Appleseed was like alive, like if like the early 1800s.
Yeah.
Could have been like when he was born. And Johnny Appleseed was like, he was known to just be like a really altruistic, great person who, he just like somebody that could turn into Santa Claus, like somebody who has those qualities that he's looking for in Joe Carruthers, just being like an all around like good person. That's what Johnny Appleseed is like known to be. So I don't know. His name isn't Johnny Appleseed. And
But it sort of sounds like a version of it.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just I just kind of like
So he's-
like that thinking.
He's like 150. You said. Does that mean he's just like super
is
traumatized? He's seen some shit, dude. Like he saw the American Civil War. He saw both World Wars, the Vietnam, Korea, like everything, man. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
and, like
no.
assuming he made deliveries every year.
Wait,
And
we're
I think
we are. Oh wait, yeah, right. If we're going off the thing that he is Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah. So like he would have been flying over World War I battlefields, like delivering gifts, like
He's like,
multiple years in a row. He's like, all right, like
this is still
Better-
going on, huh?
better fly high, so we'd have to avoid some flack, I guess. Like,
Man, I was hoping for a dogfight with Ernest in the sleigh and like the air traffic controller.
oh,
Like-
like the Air Force scene. They're like they're like looking at the
They're like,
I
all
was
right,
surprised.
take him out, and like,
Deploy some fighters or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Not to
Like the
mention all like
sleighs,
the
like, popping
revolutions,
chaff.
like Spanish Revolution,
Oh,
Russian
yeah.
Revolution. There's some pretty atrocious shit that happened in those too.
Oh yeah, and he said he delivers toys and so it's implied he doesn't deliver gifts to non
Oh,
Christmas.
yeah,
like,
the sleigh ride. So we're talking about
yeah.
that. I noted that I probably loved that as a kid. I thought that was like so funny. But that was like the most annoying part of the movie for me because it was just and it went on for so fucking long. I was like,
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
okay,
It went
this
on for a
is-
bit.
This is creeping into that like annoying Ernest that I was worried about. But it was like just that. That was like the only part where I was like, oh my god, this is pretty grating. When he's riding around with like the two little test subjects from Akira.
Oh my god.
I know. I saw them in the airport the first time, and I was like, "Oh man, here we are. Hello, 1980s."
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really do that much these days in movies anymore with like casting like little people as like haha, it's an elf.
Well, they did it in Elf. with
Yeah.
Peter
Yeah,
Dinklage.
I feel like that
I mean,
was that
well,
like
kind of.
was
He's
that
not
like
an
the
elf,
death
but
note
they-
of those? That might have been like the death of that trope. I mean, I'm sure there's like lower budget movies that still do that shit. But like commercially speaking, I feel like that was almost like the final word on like Peter Dinklage being like, "Call me Elf one more time." Like,
yeah, maybe.
That
it's
and,
like, okay, we'll chill on that. We'll chill on that a little bit.
Yeah, that was a
surprised
message
Warwick
to
Davis
like
wasn't
Hollywood.
part of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was like the small person of the time, like back then. Warwick Davis was a like Ewok actor and
he was Harry
Yeah.
Potter, wasn't he?
Yeah, Professor Flitwick and
Yeah.
Professor. He was two of them. Professor Flitwick and Professor.
McGonagall, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. McGonagall.
They put the mocap on him to be the cat.
Yeah. No, because in Sorcerer's Stone, I don't remember if this one's Flitwick or if it's the one later, but in the Sorcerer's Stone, there's like the one who's like really old and he has like a fancy beard and mustache, and he's a small person.
Did he
That's
also play
Warwick
one of the
Davis.
goblins, like the bank
At the Gringotts.
goblins, like the Gringotts? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he played like the teller, like the one who like greets him at the.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. That would make sense.
But yeah, in the sequels, it's not the old professor, but he's like younger and he looks like Warwick Davis. He just has hair and he has like a little mustache. So
I don't
He
know why
plays-
they decided
there's-
to change that.
there's two little people professors and they're both Warwick Davis at Hogwarts.
Like, they changed the Ganondorf actor too, like the headmaster for Hogwarts.
I was like Lord of the. I was like trying to figure out what movie that was. And I was not even
I meant
thinking
to say Ganondorf had to get a shit
Oh.
post in here somewhere. That
Ganondorf. Okay. Gotcha.
yeah. No, that dude kicked it after the first movie.
yeah, I don't know. I think they're both good. I was confused as a child, like having watched it. I was like, did he get younger? Like, weird.
Yeah. I really like Michael Gambon. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ganon?
Yeah, Michael Gambendorf. All right. We're veering into IMDb referential territory. Are we good to go to scores, do you think? Or you guys got any other final thoughts on Ernest Saves Christmas?
No.
I'm ready
I
if
think
TJ's
that's about it.
ready.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, no. I'm good to go. Yeah, if we want to formally do our Second Amendment out of the Dud Cup for this
Do we put it to a vote?
Yeah, for our right to bear Ernest.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I vote aye, this movie is not a dud. I don't know if that's how we're going to phrase it, but
Yeah.
I do not believe this movie belongs in the Dud Cup.
Okay. And do you have because I did kind of prep a
Like a reasoning
score.
or like,
Or no, like a score
oh, yeah.
in place of the Sputter Dud thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do both. Obviously, like, as a dud, it's a spud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I can go first if you want.
Yeah.
I guess since I did suggest this, kind of, didn't I?
Yeah.
Because I figured, actually, you know what? There are a lot of, like, bad Christmas movies. I think they tend to be in, like, the horror category, like
Or
Jack
Hallmark.
Frost from last year, or your Hallmarks that are just, like, inexplicable and, like, bafflingly
They make like
weird.
50 of them a year.
Yeah, yeah, just these pump and dump Hallmark Christmas movies. But yeah, initially, from my, knowing that I had like nostalgia glasses, I thought this would be worse than it was. But I was surprised at how funny it was. Not even like laughing at it because it's bad, but like genuinely laughing at Ernest's sort of like imbecile smugness and like is like we didn't get a ton of the ew, which is like kind of his signature
Yeah,
move.
I think there was like one near the end.
He like when he pressed his face up against the glass and was like,
Yeah.
like
I
wiggling it around.
unironically thought that was funny. So like that.
No, it was.
Yeah,
It was-
yeah.
I would place Ernest with like Pee Wee Herman and like those kind of like characters created by comedians. I thought, I mean, I was feeling a little choked up when she brought back Santa's bag, and like Santa kind of looked at her and was like, I knew you'd come back. I was like,
Yeah, just like gives her a hug or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
it's like, oh, it was nice. It was very nice.
Welcome back, family.
I mean, it's still, it's, I don't know. It's a fun Christmas movie. As a movie itself, I'm feeling like maybe a 6.
Oh,
That's kind of where I landed.
okay.
You know, it's good for the holidays. It's a good Ernest movie. You know, it's silly and it's fun. It's not, if it's a dud, it's a dud rating. It's a spud, but I'm at a 6.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty close. I went a little higher. I went with a 7 for me. But yeah, it's a spud. It's a 7. Yeah, I just had a really good time with it. It's like a pretty simplistically made movie. There's nothing like super fancy technically. There was actually a transition or two that I was like, oh, that was pretty clever. There's like a part where
Sorry, go
like
ahead.
There's like a I think it's when they're at Vern's and like he's pulling on the light source and then he like pulls the cord and it like explodes and it transitions into like a camera like flash photography and I was like, oh, that was
Santa's
cool.
mugshot.
That was very
yeah,
clever.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like a couple little things, but other than that, you know, it's like pretty simply shot and stuff like that. But it's just, I gave it a 7 just purely off of it was a really enjoyable movie and a nice like Christmas flick, like one of the better Christmas movies, I think. So, yeah, 7. Ernest is a great character. Jim Varney's like
Timeless.
Yeah, puts a really like Jim Varney's just puts so much charisma into him that he's just really lovable. So yeah,
Lovable oaf territory, except not even really oaf, honestly.
yeah, not really, not too much in this one. There's a little bit, but yeah.
I was actually leaning towards 7 myself. If we're weighing it only as a Christmas movie against other Christmas movies, I would even go for an 8 because, like, a lot of Christmas movies kind of suck. So
Yeah, as a Christmas movie, yeah, definitely higher. Yeah,
especially because that market is saturated by all those Hallmark movies we mentioned earlier. Like, holy shit, those are usually bad. And it's the same plot with a different cast at least 25 times.
yeah,
But definitely, like, I'm also kind of a sucker for movies that are time capsules. Like, they encompass the humor of the time, the life of the time too, like just everyday life in the 80s. Like, I love the settings that it's just so much different than now, even though it's kind of close to when we were kids. But that definitely influences my opinion. I don't really have a nostalgia factor for it because I've never seen an Ernest movie. I kind of want to now, though. I kind of want to go back and watch at least the first one.
They're fun.
Yeah.
I would say seasonal ones are the best ones, like Ernest Scared Stupid, you know, for Halloween.
Well, having been in the Air Force too, I'm definitely curious about the Army one. That sounds like fun.
I'm sure it'll be an accurate representation.
Is Arlie Ermy in
Arlie
it?
Ermy. God, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Like a Full Metal Jacket except comedic version, like, you know, just the
Well, it seems
first
like-
part, not the rest of it.
It seems like with
Ernest
these
goes
movies,
to Vietnam.
Vern, I'm getting flashbacks, Vern. No, it seems like with these movies, they always manage to get like one like big name celebrity guest that probably justifies it being made. Like, there's like a Ernest. I think Ernest plays basketball, or there's like a sports one, and
Yeah,
like
Slam
Kareem
Dunk
Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, Slam Dunk Ernest. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in it. Like,
Yeah,
That's
they
so
always
awesome.
kind of like get their budget to get like one bigger name actor. You know.
Yeah,
know what I mean?
my rating's firmly in the 7 category. I think it's a Christmas movie that doesn't suck, and I liked the characters. I love how he leans into his role too. Like, I got very Jim Carrey kind of vibes from his like contortionism of his face and like his body and stuff. And that's something I enjoy a lot of Jim Carrey's like kind of early slapstick stuff.
Yeah. Like when he's like the old lady and he's like, my son Marty, he never calls me, and like that character recurs in a lot of the other movies too.
Oh, nice.
Because I think he developed a lot of these characters from stand up. Like I think
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Did Jim Carrey do stand up too, or was that something
he
else?
did.
Okay, yeah. That tracks.
And then he was on like
anyway.
In Living Color and had like a lot of like character like recurring character thingies in that too, and I was almost mentioned Jim Carrey earlier, like they call it like
the
rubber
elasticity.
band face.
Yeah.
They both have that pretty.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and he uses it like he doesn't. He uses it well. You know, it fits his character.
Yeah.
But yeah, 7.
Nice. Cool. Okay. I don't know. It's break. Are we back?
Yeah,
I'm back if you're
thinking
back.
We're back. Oh. You two paths diverge. Which way, Western man?
Okay, now you're good, Casey. Now you go.
Yeah,
we're back. We are back.
I'm back.
I think, yeah.
I'm back.
The on-air light is on.
Yeah.
On air.
Yeah.
Um.
We're broadcasting this to your LG refrigerator monitor.
So do I just start talking about All Quiet?
Yeah, or whichever.
Yeah. Whatever you've been
Whichever.
watching.
So All Quiet was really good. Because of the background I have in like studying World War II, I try to stay apprised of good movies, or I guess that's World War I technically, but it's kind of the same vein.
This is the new All Quiet on the Western Front audience.
Yeah, not the shitty TV one they showed us in high school.
Yeah.
That was I don't even remember what happened. I felt like I was in a daze the whole time. This was good. It was very good. It was very visceral, very European. In the sense it was very like artsy. The cinematography was very vibrant color. Like everything was gray besides like uniforms. Very vibrant if they were colorful at all. But it was much more of a coherent plot too. I enjoyed it a lot. Very visually satisfying. Plot's largely the same.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's like the third iteration, I think, right? Because there was the 30s version, the 70s TV movie version, and then this one. So I got big April 9th vibes from it, which is like it was a Danish World War II movie that I watched for school recently too, and art style wise very similar. Choices were made when shooting the movie. It's much more realistic and less dramatic, I feel like.
Yeah. The 70s one just feels like a soap opera. It's very like it feels like a TV movie. Like
yeah.
I love
the
one from 1930 though. I think that one's great. Like
I've actually never seen that one.
For as like an early war movie, it's crazy like the production design and like how big some of like the battles are, like with how many like, people there are and like shit exploding and stuff. It's really impressive. And just good cast and everything.
I think I remember seeing it in school, but like I don't take stock in like my impression of anything that I saw like when I was that age, because like when you're in middle school and high school, you're just like, I don't want to read that.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that. Like I feel like I think I brought it up before, but like A Tale of Two Cities. Like I remember in high school being like, this shit's dumb. I don't want to have to read for a project. I don't want to. But now I feel as like 31-year-old man, I'm like, I bet A Tale of Two Cities rocks.
Yeah.
I bet all that like old school literature is like really good now that I'm like mature enough to pick up on like the themes and ideas of it. So it's like I would definitely want to give All Quiet on the Western Front like another like analysis, especially because I feel like you don't see a lot of World War I movies. Like I feel like World War II is like, it's every time I go to my parents' house and see my dad, we're like talking about movies that have come out. And my dad's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go see and it's always some like generic title, like I don't know. I think the most recent one was like what was it called? Midway, something like that.
Yeah.
What was that?
Midway.
But like,
Oh yeah.
I think ever since like Saving Private Ryan, there's just like a cottage industry of like invoking World War II nostalgia in film, where it's just like feels almost like not exploitative, but it's just like you guys have such a boner for this period of American history, you know.
And
But World War
Tom
I-
Hanks is involved somehow.
That's how you get asses in seats, man. If Tom Hanks is involved, you're like, yeah, the guy from Saving Private Ryan. Come on, go see it. Buy a ticket.
Yeah.
Or he was, what was he producing? Band of Brothers, I think, as
Yeah.
well. Like and Pacific, I think he narrated.
Did he?
I want to
those,
say
like,
he was involved in
Spielberg
that
Hanks
one
ones.
somehow.
Pacific,
Yep.
he was, because that was the same like main team as Band of Brothers.
Yeah,
And
that's a
also,
good book too.
I haven't
Go,
seen
yeah.
Band of Brothers, but I don't count that in like the World War II like jerk off movies that are
Yeah, no, Band of Brothers is great. Band of Brothers is
Band of Brothers
so,
is
like,
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, top 10 miniseries easy for me.
Yeah, that's one that I watch almost annually.
Yeah, me too.
Great.
Ever since I saw it in high school, like Mr. Schwartz, he showed it to us in his class. World Conflicts was a great elective, mostly because he didn't really care. Like the grade was easy to get. Like he cared about the work, but if you were failing his class, you could bring in a bunch of Kleenex boxes and he'd give you a ton of extra credit and pass you. So like, he was kind of like at the cusp of retiring at that point. So he was like, "Fuck this, who cares?" But
Yeah.
showed us a lot of great movies.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't want to deal with the paperwork and the fallout of like having to deal with a kid who's failing and then like their parents coming in and being like, "What can we do about this?" He's like, give me some Kleenex."
Yeah.
He's like, "Do you want an easy solution? Here it is.
Yeah.
Give me some supplies." But I remember being disappointed kind of in World Conflicts because the rest of the class didn't want to watch Das Boot because it was in German, and I was like, ugh, like sounds like a cool story, like. And it was. I watched it for college, but it was cool. And also, I want to retract the comment I said earlier about the new All Quiet. It is dramatic, just not less interpersonally. It's more just how the war affects people, not like interpersonal drama. But
that's
It's
kind
not-
of the vibe I've gotten from what I've seen.
It's not like an anti-war film, is it?
No, it is.
so it is.
I mean, the story, the book is pretty explicitly like anti-war.
I feel like those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because
I think
if it's 'cause they-
post-Vietnam era war films do that.
because it's like I feel like that's kind of how I feel with like these newer. I almost want to call them boomer coomers, but that's probably not the best way to put it. But like those boomer World War II movies that are just like airplanes and bombs dropping and like badass guys and sniper rifles. But it's like I don't know. Would you say Saving Private Ryan's like a war film?
I wouldn't say it's anti. I think maybe neutral war movie.
Okay.
Kind of like
I think Spielberg tried to paint it as realistic without being.
He's not really making
so-
a stance.
He made a return to like the classic kind of everyman hero
Mm-hmm.
in Saving Private Ryan, like everyday heroes that display heroic, or like everyday people that display heroic qualities when put in a situation that necessitates it.
Yeah.
So he wants there to be an element of that, but also like keeping it realistic and like the shaking hands and stuff, like
It
Tom
doesn't
Hanks'
shy
character.
away
like,
from like
the
like,
horrors or whatever.
yeah,
And like there's I think it's either like an anti-war movie or is like a good one. Or I would lump like Saving Private Ryan and 1917, which I also love.
me
like,
too.
But it's like they're not necessarily anti-war, but they're more about the characters. So it's different.
more about people that didn't necessarily want to be there, everyday people that two rulers went to war over territory, and this baker is now in a trench fighting for his life because like he doesn't know why. Like he's like, hey, this French guy is the same as me, but I'm gonna kill him because he wants to kill me because reasons. Like
as Serge Tankian once said in BYOB, why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's millions and millions of poor, like back then, forced to fight over
Yeah.
land. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like like some of that like the area in World War One. Pardon me for diverting a little bit, but a lot of that area between France and Germany is still like just unlivable because of unexploded ordnance that gets pushed up every spring thaw. Like, they call it the Iron Harvest because a lot of farmers like their land, like it pushes up bodies and ordnance and old weapons and other shit like out of the ground every year, and they have to have like
Yeah.
bomb disposal crews. Like they'll just set unexploded shells by their fence and they'll come around and pick it up every spring. Like,
Holy shit.
and the gas,
That's
like
wild.
mustard gas especially, was heavier than air,
Yeah.
so it soaked into the ground. So a lot of that area is just
It's
unfarmable.
like poisoned. Yeah.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
like another 50 years or so, you won't be able to like grow anything in some of those areas.
Yeah.
But it
Yeesh.
fucking sucks. Anyway, World War II movie, Schindler's List, again, top pick for me. But
Nice.
is that Spielberg also? I feel like
It
that's
is.
Spielberg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sony won Best Director for.
Oh yeah, and Liam Neeson, amazing in that movie, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm
there's
on
a
it.
few- there's a few of those like classic like war films that I really want to see. Like the big two. Well, I guess big three. I really want to see Come and See,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
and
need to see that
then
one.
Paths of Glory,
Mm.
and Thin Red Line, that's like the Terrence Malick one.
Yeah, that one
but
I'm
I've
kind of
heard is-
lukewarm on.
I've-
But
Really?
I'm
Okay.
not.
I
I'm
mean,
not
I've heard
I'm
it's-
not big on Terrence Malick that much. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So.
which one's the other one you said? You said Come and See, and then Thin Red Line, and what else?
Paths of Glory, which is
Paths
it's a
of
Stanley Kubrick.
That's
uh,
World War One too.
With Kirk Douglas,
Yep.
Michael Douglas's father.
That's pretty. I haven't seen any of those. I'm gonna have to watch them too. I've been on a kick of
I've heard
trying
is
to.
particularly rough.
Yeah.
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 Why are the rough ones always the best ones? And
Yeah,
that's why.
yeah.
That's why whenever I say I want to watch a movie this week, Danielle's like, "Uh-oh," like. It's what
Yeah,
I
I don't-
study,
I don't
so I
pick
have
out
a
movies
vested
anymore.
interest there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a majority of my movie collection is just like bummers.
Yeah. I've definitely gotten that comment a few times from Kalia too. That like, yeah, I only watch depressing stuff. It's like, 'cause that's what's good.
It is.
I mean, you're not gonna find a cheerful World War II movie except. I mean, so there's a lot of John Wayne ones that would probably go into that territory. Like his character growth is being a dick in the beginning, and then he's just less of a dick in the end. Like, that's,
Yeah.
what a hero!
yeah,
Like,
or maybe Jojo Rabbit's your cheerful World War
Oh yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah,
oh,
I would. Yeah.
Um,
you know.
Enemy or Rome Open City. That one was pretty good, TJ. If you've never seen
Oh
that one,
yeah, I
the-
remember you telling me
the
about
Italian
that.
one.
Yeah, it's by the guy that did
So,
Bicycle Thieves, Nick.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, nice.
And he
Okay.
cast like a bunch of like it was filmed in Rome after it had been destroyed by the Germans, and it wasn't rebuilt yet, so a lot of it was just kind of as it was.
Yeah,
So it was
it's very like. It's
it
very.
wasn't built that day.
Like they do that in Bicycle Thieves too. Just like cast actual people and just film
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
streets of. Maybe also Rome. I'm actually not sure which city that's
It was
supposed to be.
it was good. Like I didn't know what to think because I'm always kind of like I like old movies and stuff from back then, but the John Wayne ones tend to be pretty cheesy, so I didn't really like. I knew
Yeah.
this was a different type of film, kind of like the neo-realistic, I think is what my professor called it, but it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. And I've been looking for like other European kind of war films since then because it shows a different perspective and doesn't glorify it quite as much. So maybe
Yeah.
Nick, you'd like those better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Always
April
down to
9th.
see other perspectives on it, other than like the very like Americanized, like boot in your ass kind of narrative devices.
April
Yeah.
9th might be your speed then. It's the Danish one. It's about a Danish bike battalion in World War II.
Oh, okay.
Like bicycle, not motorcycle. They,
Yeah,
they
no, I
carried all their
figured.
shit on bicycles. Yeah, it was interesting to say the least, and definitely not like the heroic kind of character arc that you'd see in an American film.
Yeah.
It was cool though.
Nice.
Foreign films are growing on. Like I didn't I just haven't had a ton of time lately, so I haven't looked into foreign films as much. But
Stick around with duds, and you will watch a lot more foreign
I
films.
I have a yeah, majority of mine are probably foreign film. Of my suggestions.
the
And
last-
they've all been pretty good. So
Yeah.
the last big one that I watched, I think, was Battle Royale.
Oh, nice. Had you never seen that one
while
before?
ago. No, I mean with Evan, I did watch it, and this was a
Okay.
few years ago. Like I had seen foreign films between then and now, but that's the most notable one that I remember. Like my favorite one, probably.
Yeah, I love
It's
that
so
movie.
good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's what I've been doing lately. That and playing on my Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta put that in there.
yeah.
Pretty cool machine.
Another quick one, just because it's one of my favorite movies, Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah, sorry. I love, and I'm terrible with names. The main actor of that, like the Hannibal, who plays Hannibal again?
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. Sorry, yeah, it's a amazing performance by Anthony Hopkins. Love that film. I did like the misdirect at the end too. Very good.
With the house.
Are we allowed to discuss? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna happen too. Like I kind of knew it was gonna happen. Are they gonna misdirect me, or is it just setting me up to think it's going to be that way?
Mm-hmm.
It was really well done though.
Yeah.
I really liked the journey. Like I liked every single discussion Anthony Hopkins was part of. Like he was just the batteries that made the movie go.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing about that movie is he's only got like what 11 minutes of screen time.
I think
Like,
it's somewhere
Yeah.
around there. Yeah.
he does not have a lot, but it's like he's one of those characters
You
that like
feel his presence through the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
his.
I came
yeah.
away from the movie thinking the movie was about him, and it was, but he doesn't have all that much screen time.
Yeah.
Well, Hannibal
Like,
is just such a like interesting character. It's I don't know. It's really interesting because I feel like Thomas Harris, like the author of the books. I don't know. I feel like those books because like you look at the books and they feel like they would just be in your because like there are those like really short but like super thick like stocky books like almost
Yeah.
like romance novels and cowboy novels and like science fiction novels. You just kind of feel like you'd see at the bargain bin. But I feel like the character of Hannibal is just lightning in a bottle. Like he just created such an interesting character out of that it's like so iconic.
Well, I think it was really clever the way they did it too. Like this, psychiatrist who is also a murderer, like, and
Yeah.
cannibal, I guess, cannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
But like he's able to give all this crazy insight, but then also just go insane himself, but still be calm and collected and cool and like.
That's his escape is one of my favorite scenes in that movie when like the opera music is playing and he's just like
shoes that
he's got
guy's
the
like
thing,
face.
he's got the thing above his head and he comes down on it and
Yeah. That like
Oh.
the cold like expressionless face of him just like. Yeah. Is it ready when
I'm
you
looking
are,
at-
Officer Pembry?
It's very like I think there was this show that Danielle and I recently I think therefore I am Danielle and I watched this show recently about an FBI team that interviews like actual like it's fictionalized but interviews killers
Wait,
to get insight on other killers.
Is this Mindhunter?
That might be it. Yeah, let me see.
Is it a
Is it on
Netflix show?
Yep, that's Mindhunter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that show a lot. Like
Yeah.
it's very similar to
the
that.
first guy's
to-
real. Ed Kemper, I think that's who it is.
Yes,
No,
they're all real. I'm
they're all
pretty
real.
sure.
Yeah.
Because they.
Oh,
they
you said
yeah.
fictionalized. I wasn't sure what you meant by the
it's,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was my
some of the
bad.
yeah.
it's based on like the main dude, Jonathan Groff's character, like wrote a book about his experiences, like
Yeah.
interviewing all the people, and it's like based on that book. But there's also a lot of like stuff not related
Yeah.
to that. So it's
Yeah.
dramatized.
Probably one of my favorite insults ever is in The Silence of the Lambs. And it's just like, I
Rube.
think it's when he's talking to the senator and he's just like, you know what you look like to me? You look like a rube.
No, that's when he's talking to Clarice at the beginning.
Is it what's Clarice? Damn.
Yeah, because
Yeah, because of her shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
you
the-
come in
and
here
her-
with your cheap shoes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You wear Lait de
Like a
Temps
robe.
and Evian skin cream, but not today.
And I remember I actually laughed at the interaction between him and like the senator, her mom.
Yeah, that's one
He's
of my
like,
favorite lines.
did you breastfeed her? Like,
Oh,
he's basically like, hey, how's your tits?
yeah.
And then the
Uh,
love the suit.
love the
Love
suit.
the
That's
suit.
what yeah.
And he's like, I'll let you know if I find or if I remember anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
It's
being an asshole, like.
yeah, it's really like top down. Like there is not a missed like action or word. Like it is a perfect performance.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like every iota of that is just like yeah, completely controlled. Like complete like masterclass of how to do like a performance. Yeah.
Yeah, like so that was on Danielle's list of films that since we've been together, like I just hadn't seen for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got like a kind of a running tab, and it's a mix of classic films like that one, like really good stuff, with mildly offensive '90s comedies that somehow I hadn't seen,
Yeah.
like in early 2000s. We're like time capsule just to see how offensive things were back then. A lot of use, a lot of throwing around of homophobic language back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
and
just
it's
like
kind of
the
like,
joke
my
being,
God,
or just the joke being this person is gay, and
yeah, or they use kind of ableist language as well.
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
like
trying
I'm
to
sure like we heard in middle school, like
Yeah.
just try or like the like comedy trope of like impersonating a handicapped person to like
oh
get
boy,
access to something. Like they do that in Ace Ventura. I know.
my God, I hadn't
The
seen any
Ringer.
Ace Ventura before
The Ringer,
2018, and then I
yeah.
watched all of them, and I was like, God, this is a ride.
Yeah.
But I only watched it because the guy I worked with in Maryland, he constantly did that like that laugh, and I was like, what is that from? Yeah. And so I had to watch it after that, and then I had to it was an obligation. I had to watch the other two.
Yeah.
One.
That was time
There's only one,
spent.
right?
There
Or-
were
I'm sorry. There's
uh,
only two. There's
oh,
Ace
there
Ventura,
are only two. Pardon me.
and
Yeah.
then yeah, okay. When
Yeah.
nature calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Carrey notoriously is not a sequels guy. He doesn't like doing sequels to movies.
Oh, I
No.
don't really. I did Sonic too.
Yeah, I think he's probably
Sellout.
lightened up on it a little bit, but like what was it? Like the Bruce Almighty movies, like he didn't do it. He
Oh,
didn't do
yeah.
that
Evan
one.
Almighty.
Yeah,
I think
Son
it's
of the
very rare.
Mask.
It's rare. Yeah, it's rare for him to do a sequel.
Oh,
And the last
yeah. I just never thought of
the
that.
last thing that was on Danielle's list before Silence of the Lambs that we watched was Mean Girls.
Oh,
Pretty good.
solid one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was solid. Lots of early 2000s language was used.
Yeah.
Is
It holds
is
up
Jennifer
pretty well,
Coolidge in
though.
that movie?
Yeah.
Who?
What's that?
Jennifer Coolidge.
Mm,
Um,
I don't
What am I
so-
thinking of?
Are you thinking of like American
What's her-
Pie or? She was in a lot of
What's
those
her-
kind of teen comedies.
What is her name? She was in
She was
Sherlock
someone's
Holmes.
mom.
Yeah, she's Sean William Scott's mom in American Pie. Is that what you're thinking of? She might be in like a smaller part.
No, she's in Legally Blonde. That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
of.
Oh,
I
go
feel
ahead,
like
Nick.
lately Tina Fey kind of gets a bad rap. I don't know. She did like the let's just eat cake thing in reaction to like Donald Trump or something like that. I don't know. I feel like people
Oh.
shit on Tina Fey a lot. But between like Mean Girls and 30 Rock,
Gross.
I think I don't know. I think a lot of it is I think Tina Rock. I think just for like the cultural like landmark that is 30 Rock, Tina Fey is
I
so
love 30
untouchable
Rock.
to me.
Yeah.
That show is so like ahead of its time in terms of like some of the shit that like it references and like the like points that it makes sometimes. It's like completely timeless shit. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like Parks and Rec for largely the same reasons, I think.
Yeah.
It's a very similar show, and I guess that's probably because Amy Poehler's in it. Like I think she's friends with Tina Fey, right? They're close, and their sense of
Yeah, I mean
humor
they
is
did
very
Weekend
similar.
Update together.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. And I know people have feelings about God damn it, names. Star-Lord.
Chris,
Chris Evans.
Chris
no,
Chris
Chris
Evans.
Pratt.
Chris Pratt, yeah.
Too many Chris's. We got to get rid
Yeah.
of these guys. There's too many of
I
them.
know I know people have feelings about like
Need a
his
Chris
you know
culling.
religion and stuff. I don't track that too closely, but I definitely did enjoy his Andy quite a bit.
He did the
Oh,
thing. He
yeah.
flew too close to the sun. He did the thing that Jim from The Office did, where he was a lovable kind of oaf comedic relief guy, and then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna get jacked and talk about how cool the FBI is, and it's like, no, we've turned on
No.
you, and like Chris Pratt hasn't done any sort of like CIA propaganda movies yet, but he did do the thing where he got jacked, and it's just like,
He did do he did military movies, I know, and I don't
Did
know
he?
if he did
Okay.
any. Yeah,
Chris Pratt?
and John,
Yeah, he's
and
done a few.
John Krasinski did. Oh, the CIA propaganda. John Krasinski.
13 hours, maybe, or
is that the
Yeah.
Benghazi movie?
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
That one stresses me out. Benghazi does, but like the Jack Ryan, that's it. That's it.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yep.
Chris Pratt was in way before he blew up. He was in Zero Dark 30, even.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
was
good
it?
one.
Yeah,
Yep,
that was like pre
as a special forces guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I think he was one of the.
I think
guys
I think that's the one that he got jacked for. Like when he was in
that would make sense. Yeah,
Parks and Rec, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Yeah, Parks and Rec though, his improv is pretty on point. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
stuff he does.
Yeah, and he's not one
Um,
where like I'm so over him that like I'll hate it. Like I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and I'm still like, yeah, okay.
How was that?
He's Star-Lord. I can still like take him as Star-Lord. You know, I'm not like instantly just
Yeah.
like, oh man, this guy.
So I know how Nick feels about the Marvel universe. How have you felt about like the recent releases, TJ?
I've definitely fallen
Nick
off.
loves talking about Marvel movies, but
Like I think I don't know if it was on Duds or not, but I think we talked recently kind of about it. How like I kind of, to me, Endgame was like the end, and it really was kind of like it was an interesting thing how just like naturally my interest just died. Where like before that I watched every movie.
Yeah.
I watched any not that there was a lot, but I watched any of the shows.
have you enjoyed any of the shows that have come out?
So I have watched a fair amount of the shows because they're on Disney Plus. I already have Disney Plus.
Yeah,
It's
we
really
have
easily
too.
accessible, and they're like fairly short. I guess I'd say like WandaVision is probably like my favorite still, but like none of them have like blown me away. Like there's none that I've felt like about like my more favored Marvel movies. They've always been kind of like mid to lower as far as like the MCU goes.
Yeah, I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier purely because the U.S. agent was a character inclusion, and they got to beat the shit out of him in it. So like that was cool.
That was kind of cool, yeah. And then I watched Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man. I watched Doctor Strange because it's Sam Raimi. So like
Yeah.
I'll now I'm at the point where like I'm gonna watch, which is how anybody should normally watch movies and not be just in watching stuff because it's part of the MCU, right? Now I'm at a point where I'm just like, if it's something that I'm interested in or it's directed by somebody that I like, I'll go see it. So, I saw those ones, but like I haven't seen Eternals, I haven't seen Shang-Chi, I haven't seen Black Widow.
Shang-Chi's actually pretty good.
I've heard it's one of the better ones, but I'm still like, that's what I mean. Like I'm at a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in the character. I'm not gonna see it just because it's a Marvel movie anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas
I didn't.
before
I didn't
would.
see it because it was. So I started out seeing it because it was a Marvel movie, but it's got more in common with like a campy martial arts movie, which I have a weakness for.
That is true.
So like, so
I will say I did kind of want to see it initially because Tony Leung is the Mandarin,
yeah.
and he's like one of my boyfriends now. I love that guy. So
Yeah.
I would maybe
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, I would maybe see that like exclusively for him.
yeah,
Because I think he's.
I would. It was a good ride. There were. Yeah, we watched a lot of the Marvel like shows with Remy, like She-Hulk and stuff, and they've got fun moments, but they don't capture me like my attention nearly as much as like pre-Endgame stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I guess.
Do you know
I
who the
still
head
like.
writer on She-Hulk is?
No, I didn't.
It's
Don't.
the same woman that wrote Pickle Rick,
Oh no.
Jessica Gao.
Ooh.
Legend.
Yeah.
She was one of the head writers on Rick and Morty.
Nice.
I was very shocked to see her name attached to it because
Huh.
like I listened to a podcast with her and Dan Harmon, which was actually pretty good. It was called Whiting Wongs, which is a little bit of a problematic name for a podcast, but
Very
they-
much. So.
they she's Asian American. I don't know. They talk about like representation and inclusivity in like movies and TV, and because Dan Harmon is a straight white dude and she's not. So it was it's a little bit of a time capsule. Some of the opinions from like 2017 or 18, whatever. But it was a pretty interesting listen, and they had the dude from Hook on it.
Ooh,
Who
cool.
played Rufio.
Donnie Bosco or Danny Bosco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they talked to
Danny
him
Bosco
about like
sticks.
getting jobs and like getting work, because I don't want to botch it because I don't know like what specific
Don't want to Bosco it.
I don't, I don't know like what specific like ethnicity he is, but he talks about like I think it's one of those ethnicities that's like kind of in demand sometimes, but it gets underrepresented, or I don't know. But he talked about his experience. We can cut this, but it was interesting, and like, and then she went to do She-Hulk, and I've heard it's meh.
Yeah.
Some people
yeah,
seem
so
to love it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like I have been watching it for the inclusion of the other characters.
Oh yeah.
Because they're bringing back Charlie Cox as Daredevil. They brought him back in the Spider-Man movie. They brought him back like the new did you ever watch like the old Netflix Daredevil?
Yeah.
Either of you?
Mhm.
So kind of a darker take on him. Like did that they kind of followed the gritty, post 2010 Netflix trend, but it was a good show. I liked it. I liked Charlie Cox's portrayal of Daredevil. And they brought him back to play a different, I guess, iteration of Daredevil.
Yeah.
So he is still a good Daredevil in my opinion. Like he carries the character well, and I'm looking forward to seeing his show.
Yeah.
I liked his
I might
inclusion in
check that out,
She-Hulk. Yeah, I mean, you don't only have to watch the episodes that he's in if you want to watch She-Hulk, and then I think he's only in one or two. But I know that there were a lot of like memes about that, like only watching She-Hulk for Charlie Cox's Daredevil and then dropping it. But he's still just as good as he was. Looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, that's that's one, like, that's what I mean. Like, that's a character. Daredevil is always one of my favorites, like growing up, like next to Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
he's another one that I'm more like keen to check out.
And Hawkeye too, same for me.
Yeah.
I just like Archer characters a lot for some reason. Like Green Arrow, I watched all of that, even though I probably shouldn't have. It struggled like a lot of those DC shows did, but stuck the landing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
The first half of Arrow was decent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
If you go back and watch like the first couple seasons, like the camera angles and stuff very much has that early 2000s kind of like teen drama kind of look to it.
Yeah.
I started watching it with Danielle and I rewatched that. It was her first time during the pandemic. The first time, like we'd have some edibles and watch shit. and she was like, "What are we watching?" he's like kicking ass, and then suddenly we're in like his love life for 40 minutes of the episode.
Probably watching it now, especially like being able to binge it, maybe those like issues would be more apparent.
Yeah.
But I guess before we move on to, since you asked, and I did have it on the list to talk about anyways, and it's holiday season. The Guardians Holiday Special was pretty solid. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was like a really cute. It's like exactly what it should have been. It's like a nice like 40-50 minute thing. It's silly. It's got like a like cheesy, like sweet, like super sweet sort of holiday like message, like, oh, Christmas is the
Like, what
greatest
kind of
time
cheese?
of year and blah blah blah. It's basically like they find out that Peter like you know, it's Drax and Mantis, and they like find out about Christmas, and that like oh Peter hasn't been able to celebrate Christmas because he's like not on Earth anymore, and we don't celebrate it in space, obviously. So they like decide to go get him a gift and like bring Christmas to him as to like cheer him up, basically. So they like go, and their idea is to gift him Kevin Bacon because that's like Peter's favorite actor. So he like they go like kidnap him, and that's basically the whole movie. They go kidnap Kevin Bacon and then bring him there, but yeah, it's really sweet. Like if you like the characters, I would definitely check it out, especially like in
something I could watch with Remy. Definitely, she'd be into that.
Drax is the one that takes everything like very literally, right?
Yeah, the best character.
Do they like explain Christmas to him, and he's like, "What? One man named Santa Claus brings toys to everybody?"
I think there's something along the lines of like why, like what's the point of like giving someone a gift or something like. There's some sort of thing like that, but they do have. It is kind of nice because that shtick is like kind of starting to become rote, right?
Yeah.
Even though that is like his character, but they actually kind of address that in this with because he is being mad about like everything, and there's like a part where Mantis is just like, Drax, like this is how shit works, basically. She kind of like gives him like a little talking to, and like you need to like understand how emotions work and like grow up or whatever.
That's pretty good.
And yeah, it's just a cute little thing. If you like the characters and, you know, want a nice little short Christmas special to watch, I would recommend it. It's pretty good. And
we'll do that next then. That and we're doing the Santa Claus show with Remy, and it's a show. Certainly it exists. And then I think Home Alone's on our list somewhere.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, very briefly, I just have one holiday rec. I'm pretty sure you've both seen this. Joe Pera helps you pick out the perfect Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Casey?
No, I haven't.
I'm very surprised because there was a point in time when I was living in Kalamazoo where, like, if it was around this time of year and anyone was at the house, we showed them Joe Pera helps you find the perfect Christmas tree. It's like, what, 20-ish minutes? I mean, are you familiar with Joe Pera at all, Casey?
I'm not really, no.
Oh, go.
I'm writing all these down though.
Joe Pera talks with you. Maybe I don't know if Remy would get a lot of it. It's very dry. The humor is very dry, but Connor O'Malley.
We don't like dry humor here.
But it's basically this short that he made about like he kind of has this identity crisis over like not finding the right Christmas tree for his house. And so it's kind of him. It's kind of like he's like, he has this very like soft-spoken like Midwestern guy. He's like trying to help you like pick out, you know, the right Christmas tree, and he kind of goes over like the logistics of it all.
Yeah, he's from Marquette too. Which I like. The character is.
Yeah, and a lot of the show takes place in northern Michigan, which is neat.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that you know, it was on my mind because yesterday we went with Chloe's sister and brother-in-law to like a middle of nowhere and like picked out a Christmas tree, and like we had a saw, and like I helped saw the tree down. Like we all, you know, went around and picked it, and I was doing the thing from the Joe Pera the Christmas special where I'm like, that's a fir, because like he's going over the different types of trees, and it's just him standing next to a tree pointing at it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool. And then they have like a machine that shakes the tree to get all like the like dead needles and like loose particles and shit out of it. It's a Christmas tradition I'm not used to because like we always had like synthetic trees in the house.
Yeah.
So like going through and like killing something to put in the living room was it was cool. It was cool to be a part of.
It's pretty metal,
I guess. Yeah.
No, TJ, metal would be synthetic.
That's true.
That's right. Okay. I don't remember the last cut pull. Was it? No, it was the hunt. Anyway.
Yeah, it would have been the hunt. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool,
so
Evie.
Thanks. Next week's movie.
Yes.
Is
Pokemon the first movie.
That would be dope. Actually,
That's such a good movie.
We could put that in there. That would be a good one to add in. Oh. It's not The Hunt, but it is from 1955, directed by Charles Lawton, Night of the Hunter.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing this is on HBO. I feel like this is like a Criterion movie.
If it is, Nick has it.
Oh, it's on Tubi. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Tubi.
Hell yeah, Tubi. It's on Tubi and Pluto, but between the two, I would recommend Tubi. And then for rent on other stuff, but just get Tubi. It's free, baby. Yeah, so watch that before next week's episode if you don't want to be spoiled for Night of the Hunter. That's one that's been on my list for fucking a decade, probably.
That best film of all time behind Citizen Kane is what I'm reading. So
Damn. Okay.
That's one I've
maybe I
never
shouldn't
seen
have
either.
said that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't
Yeah,
want to
maybe you
build it
shouldn't
up
have
too
said
much.
that.
In 2008, some French magazine. So, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Frank.
Fuck the French. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So watch that. Spoiled if you don't, but it's on those things. These episodes
Tubi.
come out every Tubi. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more in podcast form, in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and one more, Twitter.
Yes.
MySpace.
If you're listening on YouTube, leave us a comment. YouTube seems to be our biggest platform for some reason. All of our videos get the most views on YouTube. So hey, if you like the shit, leave us a comment on YouTube. You know, it always helps our algorithm.
Yeah,
So,
or just anywhere, really. Just like let us know that anybody's listening.
is there anybody out there?
And with all that said,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're still doing Ernest Saves Christmas.
Yeah.
Man, I know there's gonna be a good one that I'm forgetting. I am your
Father.
No. But I just feel like this shouldn't be. I'm thinking too hard about this. I am the like mayor's daughter doing a book report. I don't know. And I can't even do it. I'm a gay
Baby voice almost.
also known as TJ. And with me as always.
Oh God.
Was that
Please
veering
always
into
speak that
Travis
way.
McElroy?
No. Oh. All right, and as always, I am your shit. Why is it so hard?
I
feel like
know,
there's
right?
So many things to pull from this movie.
I think that's what makes it hard, because you're like, I gotta think of a good one, and there's so many good ones.
Yeah, hold on. I am your mother that you haven't talked to in a long time, and you don't need to forget about me. Come home for Christmas, please. Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch, and with us, as always.
As always, for the first time.
As
I
always
am,
for the first time.
Yeah, I am. Oh damn, I don't know. I'm Santa Claus. You know.
All right. That's good.
One day I'll bestow it upon Nick and wither away.
Nice.
All right, bye-bye. Have
All right,
Merry
bye.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Happy everything.
nice.